Spoiler alert: if you're not watching the Never Ever Mets on OWN, then don't watch this. If you are watching this, then strap in. We can talk about it.
Sometimes there's an inconsistency in remembering conversations or prior conversations that we had.
I love being a New Yorker, and I love being from the Bronx, but I'm most definitely removed. Like I'm very flexible in where I can live and still be able to work.
And then her stance will completely change on the same topic.
I think you flip-flop on some of your answers.
You're the second or third person to call me inconsistent, and that hurts my feelings.
Who called you inconsistent also?
There's other guys I've dated. That hurts my feelings.
Now we're getting down to like a core. I think, and that's what's probably the scariest part for me.
Oh, you saying that I have a history of being inconsistent?
Yes.
Yo, you're a bitch. All right?
Wow.
You're a bitch. And you talking about irrelevant.
It's like, you see how you're not listening to
I'm listening, and I called you a bitch. I feel like having a broken marriage shows that you can't keep a promise.
Do you remember why I was married? Mainly because I had a kid at 20, and like for me, that North Carolina Southern is kind of the right thing.
But it means that you can easily break a promise. My is showing your track record ain't really looking. What makes me any different than the parade of women that have come around?
With Sienna, I feel like there's a lot of projecting based off her past. I consistently try to listen to her. I consistently try to communicate with her. But it comes to a point where it's like, you can't win.
All right, so
oh Lord,
talk about this. All right, what we're gonna do is let's do this one. All right, so let's talk about this. See, let's unpack this scene here. So what you just watched or what you just heard was a clip from Sienna and Brandan. And just to give you a quick little insight of their background, so Sienna and Brandan first met on Instagram after Sienna was drawn to Brandan's travels around the world and DM'd him. Right, Brandan was intrigued by her forward nature, and the two hit it off. Sienna's straightforward, independent girl from the Bronx, and Brandan is a military kid who spent most of his childhood overseas. Sienna has hesitated to dating a man with kids, while Brandan, despite being a social butterfly, admits he's fearful of getting hurt in love again. Right now, just to give you a rundown of how the show works, the Never Ever Mets is a show about people who dated online, never met, and they put them into this house so they can meet and interact with these other couples who never met and see if they actually want to move forward with their relationship. This particular couple were dating for 10 months before they met inside of this house. And when they met in this house, they had that conversation. Now, I chose this because she's from the Bronx, right? And my lovely co-hosts are also from the Bronx. And I think she's making y'all look bad. I think she's making y'all look bad in terms of communication skills. She's unable to receive the feedback, and that's why she responded the way she did. She said to us, 3 other men told me that I do this. And when that nigga said that to her, she was like, it hurts my feelings when people tell me I don't be consistent, and then told him he was a bitch. So with that being said, what are your thoughts, ladies?
So first of all, yes, I'm from the Bronx and I represent everything Bronx. However, that does not depict, Sienna does not depict every female from the Bronx. Okay, I just want to make that clear. I make that a clear statement.
Now, with that being said, do you see any familiarity in her? Do you see any familiarity in her as someone that behooves like that?
No, just her attitude, maybe just the tone of her voice, like, but other than that, like her attitude could be Bronx wise, but not necessarily the things that she was saying. It does not depict females from the Bronx per se. Her attitude, yes, we have we're rough around the edges, here and there, but the statements that she made does not, mean everybody from the Bronx thinks like that. I do want to say, in the beginning, the conversation went smooth, right? She acknowledged, she said, that hurts my feelings, right? I guess when people said that about her, but I do gotta, sis, you told on your damn self, in my opinion. You indicated 2 other males said that. And if you didn't want, you shouldn't have brought that shit up. You shouldn't have brought it up, because then what he did was, remember, he had an experience with you for 10 months. He basically said, well, I agree with the other. No, he asked first, well, who stated that? And she stated other people that I dated. So he's kind of like, well, because they are dating, he agreed with the other folks that told her that. So if two people told you that, and now this is the third person that told you that, at some point you have to look at yourself, right? Like, dang,
Talk about it.
maybe it is me or whatever, you know, and nobody's perfect, right? But that's why you got to take a step back and be like, wow, all right, let me look at that. Immediately, homegirl went into attack mode. She brought up, I don't know why she brought the children up, his marriage, that had nothing to do with nothing. They were just having a conversation about herself, and then she called that man a bitch. And I think, Mash, you can attest that as a man, that's a degrading term, or a term that no people should be calling a man.
Inappropriate. Inappropriate
Yeah.
is the word I like to use for
So
2024.
I just felt like she didn't acknowledge anything. And even if she said, you know what, dang, that does hurt my feelings. But, you know, if you saying that, maybe I need to take a step back and look at myself. She could have stated that right there. Instead, she went into attacking him being married at 20. And then she was like, and then after that, you know, you went and had another kid and that. So, you know, you talking about me, but you're not consistent.
Yeah, she dragged
And I
it.
think I do think that he handled it well, though. I must say that Brandan handled himself well.
I mean, I feel like you said everything that I was feeling, sis. So thank you for that. And
yes, I got you.
She does not represent the Bronx Smash. I think, you know, there is something where when you come from somewhere as colorful as the Bronx, you can't help it comes off in your accent. It comes off in your being. It comes off in your head. It comes off in your body. It's who you are. It's what you know. But the her words were not something that I resonate with being from the Bronx. Obviously, you know, it was hard for her to accept the feedback that he was sharing with her, and literally she told on herself, like Mo said, when, you know, he called her being inconsistent. And I think what she meant by that, because the conversation had started from 3 months ago, right, saying that she would move to Florida and she's open to moving because she can work from anywhere, into now with her being in the relationship with him saying, hey, you know, I think I may want more of a commitment for me to move there. And I think that's still a very valid conversation, but it is to him inconsistent. And I do feel like it's still a valid conversation, and I think she could have brought it up in that way, or they could have had a conversation about it, or maybe he could have said to her what was inconsistent, but immediately she felt so attacked by it because it's something that came up from her past. And I always say this, you know, feedback is exactly that. It's feedback, right? So people can see something that they are sharing about you. They'll see something that they see about you. They'll say something about what they see about you, but it's up to you to take what you want from it. But if there's consistencies in the same things, you can say, oh, that's not me, that's not me. But I think you do need to take a look in within yourself and say, okay, maybe I've been hearing this from so many people. Maybe this is the truth. You know what I'm saying? But you could tell she was attacked by it. And so that's why she went after attacking him. Everyone has a past. And, you know, you can call whatever he went through as him being inconsistent, not being able to hold down a relationship, or poor decisions or whatever. It wasn't the time or place for that. And I think that they could have handled that better. And I give Brandan some kudos to handling it better. And I think that's why they're no longer on the show, is because they did have some real inconsistencies. And her calling him a bitch was like the biggest red flag for any man. The minute a woman calls you a bitch, it's a hurt to the ego, from what I know. And it's just hard to come back from that. I'm complete.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that her inability to receive the feedback is a flag in itself, right? That's, for me, that's the bigger issue. Like, she called him a bitch for sure, right? Which is inappropriate, because if you're gonna be partners, I don't see how you could value our relationship if you think I'm a bitch. But in terms of you being able to express how you feel, she failed. She failed at expressing how she feels about what he said, or how she received what he said. And I think he used the best words possible to convey how he felt about her indecision to move to Florida. Like, I feel like, you know, there's some inconsistencies about the things we're talking about. Not you're a liar, not I don't trust you, not, you know, I had an expectation of you to do something and you failed me. He could have said all of those things. He just said, I've noticed some inconsistencies. And what he when he pointed it out, she just couldn't handle it. For me, it screamed failure to like account or be accountable, right? And I think people who don't hold themselves accountable are poor communicators. Anything else y'all like to add?
No, that's why they're not together, because they can't communicate. And when asked, was Brandon willing to move forward and try to reconcile, he exited stage left and said, no, he's not. He's not willing to make it work,
Facts.
because clearly the communication is not there.
I mean, what made it even worse is the clip that we didn't even show was when he had a conversation with another female inside of the house, and she was bugging about him not telling her about the details of the conversation. Now, she went so hard trying to pry information out of him, it just made their relationship unreconcilable. Like there was no coming back from their relationship after she went as far as to continue to speak to him in that kind of demeaning, derogatory kind of way, which just reinforces why they're not a good fit as a couple.
I'll be honest with you. I don't want to say I agree with her behavior, but I do agree with her point. We don't know anyone in this house. Remember, no one has ever met. And we just had an argument or a poor discussion, and to know that you're talking to a whole nother female about it, and then when I bring it up to you, you like, oh, that's a conversation between me and her. It's kind of like, I think that was an opportunity for them to kind of talk it out, as opposed to him going to someone else that you don't even know. It is different if you go to your friend. It's different if you go to, someone that you know. No one knows anyone, and you're going to another woman in this house, and then I ask you about it, and you don't want to tell me the details. So yeah, I just think that the way she went about it is not the right way. But to walk into a room and see your man talking about your relationships to the next bitch is kind of off-putting.
So let's, just a little hypothetical in terms of that relationship or that instance, or this particular instance where you're on this show with a bunch of strangers and everyone's not your friend. Like, these are just people that you have to deal with while you're in this place together, right? Understanding the circumstances as they are, him deciding, in my opinion, not to share that is completely within his right, because she did say things to him that were hurtful that he had to eat. And for him to have to repeat those things to her can't feel good. And that's his right, in my opinion. I feel he has a right to say, I don't want to talk in detail about what was said, because I think he already knew that this relationship was going to be clipped. Like, it wouldn't mean no sense going any further, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I get you, but I hate to do this, but let's play devil's advocate. If I'm a woman and you're my man, and you walk into the room with me talking to a whole nother man about an argument that me and you just had, and then you ask me about it, and I say, I'm not going to tell you the details about it. But you walk in and you didn't even know that I walked into the room, and I didn't even know that you walked into the room, and I'm having a whole conversation with another man. How would you feel about that, Mash?
That's something different. I feel like that's a
Is
level
it?
of trust. And the reason I say this is because I don't feel like they trust one another to be able to have conversations with other people, with them being present or not. I feel like that's not a deal breaker for me. For me personally, if I'm having if we have an argument and then you get conflict resolution from somebody and you don't feel comfortable sharing with me what it was, I would be concerned about that. I would, but I wouldn't react that way.
So it was her reaction towards it, but you see what you said, you would feel some type of way about it. And I think that's fair that she did feel some type of way about it. Yeah, and that's what TJ said. So we all have a consensus there. Well, yes, we would feel some type of way with it. It's her reaction that wasn't warranted. She didn't have to warrant that reaction, but how she felt was valid. Right?
Yeah,
how she felt was definitely valid. Absolutely. Yeah, how she felt was valid, because you're with me, right? And as TJ stated, we don't know nobody in this damn house, right? So the fact that I'm now asking you, saying, hey, okay, fine, you had a conversation with her, but share with me what was discussed. You know what I mean? So, and you're going to say you're not going to talk about that? Whoa, what? That's a problem. And she could have said it just like that. Like, that's a problem for me. Like, we don't know anybody in this house, but yet exactly what we all stated, she could have said to him. But instead, she went off in true
Don't
fashion.
even call it Bronx style. It's not.
I wasn't gonna say. That's why I didn't say Bronx.
I was hoping somebody else was gonna say it, but I didn't want to be the one to say it.
I can't.
I was gonna
that's
say
why I said
it.
she went off in true fashion. And true, I didn't say Bronx fashion. I said she went off in her true fashion and showed her ass.
It ain't
Basically,
got
that's what
nothing
she
to
did.
do with the Bronx. That has everything to do with her. And I honestly wish her the best. I think that she's not ready to be with a man like Brandon, you know? Like I think certain women need a certain type of personality and it's not Brandon's personality, unfortunately. She needs a
Mm-mm.
stronger personality. I think she also needs to do some self work, look within herself at some of the things that she's hearing, because if you're hearing it from other people, then that might be a little true. And it's hard to hear it. It's hard to hear, feedback like that, especially if you're feeling triggered by it or it hurts your feelings, right? So she needs to work on herself. And then I also think Brandon gets to work on himself a little bit too on, first of all, taking 10 months before you meet somebody, ain't nobody got time for that. Like I'm on
It's-
Tinder and or Hinge, and the minute she be like talking to me and the text go dead, I'm no longer even interested. So
and especially if y'all live in the same United States.
yeah, it's not like they live in different countries. He's in Florida, she's in New York, and yeah, nah, 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 nah.
And now that I'm thinking about it, like how much do you really you know what I mean, like you've been with this person even for 12 years, 10 months, 9 months, but you've been with these individuals for so long. Like how much do you really care for them if you can't really take a flight to go see them and they live in the damn United States of America? They don't live in another country. I'm really trying to, yeah, and I'm not saying you're going to do that within the first week, but now you've built a rapport with them. By now he should have at least came to your state. She could have went to your, you back, you do it evenly. All right, this week, this month I'll come to you, the following month we'll do that. I'm really thinking, like, do you, like, how much do you really care for the person? But you never went to see them? Almost a damn year, and you had to go on a whole show with people who've never met the person, like, but been together for years, like 7 years and 12 years. But you never thought at any point in time to, hey, whether you fly, drive, take a bus, take the train, or whatever to go see the person. It just hit me just now. I'm like, well, wait a minute, do you really care?
All right. So you made a really valid point, Mo, in terms of the duration of the relationships, right? Now, on this show, The Never Ever Mets, all the couples meet for the first time and they're in this home. These two sets of couples, Sandia and Chris, been dating for 3 months, and Joanna and Aaron been dating for 9 months. And it just so happens that there seems to be a bit of chemistry between the partners, which would be Chris and Joanna. And it's kind of surprising because you wouldn't expect that to actually be the case, them coming together to meet their person, but then, having so many nice things to say about this stranger, but not so many nice things to say about their partner. Is there anything in particular that
Absolutely.
stood out to this couple for you, Mo?
I remember when they was at the dinner table and, Joanna was praising Chris, just giving him a lot of feedback with positive, it was very quiet. I feel like Aaron is, very, very quiet towards her. And yes, they've been together a short time, 9 months for Joanna and Aaron, and 3 months for Zendaya and Chris. But in my opinion, Chris and Joanna have a better chemistry. They just vibe, you know what I mean? And that's what Chris is kind of saying, that he just vibes with her. He's trying to insinuate that Zendaya, like he's like, I don't do the jealousy thing. Like this is just like I'm here with you or whatever the case may be. But him and Joanna just have a different kind of connection. You get what I'm saying? Like they laughy, jokey, and all of those things. I don't think they've ever like crossed a boundary or touched on anything like that. But I guess it makes Sandia feel a bit comfortable. Aaron has not expressed
Uncomfortable.
feeling uncomfortable at all. Aaron hasn't expressed feeling uncomfortable. He feels to be secure in his skin. Not to say that he doesn't feel uncomfortable, but he hasn't expressed that he felt uncomfortable. But I also don't feel like she's chummy with Aaron. With Aaron, I feel like she's more into Chris, and that's just my opinion.
Quick question for both of you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Just be honest, okay? Let's put our honesty caps on. Now,
Okay.
watching the show, do you feel like Joanna and Chris may possibly have some type of connection?
Yes.
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 100%.
Okay. Everyone in the house feels this way as well. Okay. The only dodo bird is Aaron. Okay.
Yep.
And that's it. He's the only dodo bird because obviously Chris is a little funny style too. You heard him on that first night when he walked into the house, and
Yep.
Sandia was right there in the kitchen, and he was like, I get bitches, it's nothing to me, like girls ain't nothing, like I got money and girls come. And Sandia was in the kitchen and he tells her to go away. I want to say she a dodo bird too.
So can I keep it a stack with you? I think that he being Haitian and her being Haitian, he was dominating her. Like when they alone, just the two of them for those first 3 months, I feel like he was putting all of that brainwashing shit into motion for her. And now she got around a bunch of other people and they can see like, oh shit, this nigga
Correct.
treat me like shit. Like, you know,
People like Diamond.
yeah, yeah.
Because she's very vocal.
The thing about Homeboy that I didn't like is that he didn't validate her feelings, or he doesn't feel that her feelings matter, right? Chris, for example, Chris says that Sandia, her feelings don't matter, and that is fucked up. I feel like that is something that you can't say to somebody that you're in a relationship with, that the way they feel doesn't matter, or you know, you feel the need to justify how they feel. Like he is on that type of kick, which is really weird in my opinion. But I think that her being in the public eye and having different opinions allow her to be able to have a voice that she doesn't have for herself on her own. I think that the people in the crib are putting a battery on her back to be able to vocalize how she feels or what she's experiencing to let him know he's in the wrong.
However, I do feel like when they're on there with the therapist, she has kind of
That's what I was gonna
expressed
say, Mo.
how
Thank you
she
for that.
I've seen her definitely express herself when it's just them two, and she definitely has spoken up and said how she feels, or how she feels how he may not validate her and things of that nature. So she definitely speaks up on the one-to-one. I think in the house she's a little bit more docile because, as TJ stated, she don't know nobody in that house. Really, you know what I'm saying? Just to be honest, but on their one-to-one, I do feel that she's vocal in the one-to-one.
Yeah, I do feel like she's vocal in her one-to-one with him as well. And I think that the therapy session was very insightful for both of them. And I think a lot of us don't have the beauty that they have, to be recorded, your authentic self being recorded of how you react to your partner, and then you speak with a therapist. Like sometimes we don't really come out the way that, or as supportive as we want to come out to our partners, because I don't feel like he's really trying to be very like mean to her. He's just like, I don't get it. I believe that he really didn't get it. And it wasn't until they sat with the therapist and he was like, oh, okay, I get that. Okay, I could see how I was not being, supportive to whatever she was saying. And vice versa. The therapist even said it to her too, because she was like, your past is your past. Don't bring your past over here, is what Cindy had said. And the therapist says, oh, no, you get to have some compassion for him too. And he had experienced some things in his relationships that have made him who he is too. So you have to have some compassion, and it goes both ways. So I think therapy is really supportive for a couple like them. I just don't like his. I agree with you, Mash. I think he is brainwashy and manipulative. He does have some type of connection with Joanna that is inappropriate. And I think the reason why is because Joanna don't want nothing to do with Aaron. He is too immature for her. He's too young, and she's not feeling him. And they need to leave. I'm sorry. She's trying to stay on the show. What you stay on the show for? You have no connection to him, and you're like, oh, you want to take things slow. Sis, you're not feeling him. We can all feel it, and that's it.
Yeah, she tried to bring up her trauma or something like in the past, and that's right. She has fear trauma, but I also feel like as much as Chris talks about, that's what he said. Oh, I love that she's Haitian and she's part of my culture. But I feel like with Joanna for him, in my opinion, is the vibe, is the fun, is like I could have a good time with her. Whereas Sandia is just mild and meek.
Yeah.
And from his personality, according to his personality, it's like he's more of a, as he stated, oh, I'm out here and I get this. And Joanna's about that. And Joanna is a realist too. Like you see when they ask her certain conversations, like she agreed with some of the stuff that
That the
the
men were
guys were
saying.
saying.
Yeah, she's a sexologist too.
Right, exactly. So she's on that time. And I think that's where the connection is, because I just think Sandy is too, although yes, you guys come from the same culture, but she's a little bit too mild and meek for you, in my
But
opinion.
that's what he
So
wants, though.
But that's what he
literally,
wants, right? So he
yeah.
could dominate her.
There you
Exactly.
go. There
Yeah.
you go.
So he could
There you
dominate her. Yeah. That's what
I
he
don't
wants.
know if the therapist is what Chris needed to understand. I think what Chris needed to understand was that light skinned chick reading him in front of everybody in the crib when he was like, "Can I tell you how I feel? Can I get your opinion on this? Can I get your opinion on this?" He went to everybody in the room. He asked the light skinned girl. She was like, "Yeah, you could go ahead. You go get my opinion." And she read homeboy and let him know that his behavior was inappropriate with homegirl. And he had nothing to say back. He took that, "Oh, I'm angry, so I'm not going to reply" type attitude. That's when he understood that what he was doing was fucked up. That therapist shit might have been a nice push, but he was like, "Oh, empathy. Yeah, maybe I should try being empathetic to her." Sure. It wasn't to homegirl read him. He was like, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I might be in the wrong."
I feel like he was still kind of being very defensive and like thinking that everybody, and even Joanna, she was like, "It's not true. It's not true." It's like, shut up. They were very defensive. And I think it's more Joanna interested in Chris, not for nothing, than anything else. I think Chris is just entertaining shit because that's what he do. But I think Joanna's feeling Chris more than she's feeling Aaron. She needs to go. I'm complete.
Agreed.
Definitely.
Yo, Tribe, thanks for joining us for another episode of Ratchet Robe Review. We got new content coming out for you every couple days. Tune in. You can find us on all streaming platforms. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on iTunes. You can find us on Alexa. Anywhere where you're getting podcasts, you can get the Sophisticatedly Ratchet podcast. Tune in next time. We got more for you. Peace.